Hi guys, my name is Roger, and I'm building a mid-engine supercar in the basement of my home. Let's take a look at what I've been working on this week. Well, welcome back guys. You've probably noticed I did not make a video last week, and the reason for that was I'd been working on the car, but I just didn't think I had made enough progress to really share and make a video. So all of last week's and this week's progress are in this one video, and even the 2 weeks together combined are not going to look like a lot of progress. And let's take a look at what I've been doing and see what little progress I have made. Okay, well, I've been continuing on the wiring, and I have ran 3 wires. They are power wires from the battery up to the front of the car. These 2 relays trigger those wires, and I have neatened up everything up through here, placed all these wires in loom. I don't know if you remember before, but there were several, probably 15 or 20 or more wires just laying loose here out in the floorboard. All those have been neatened up and put in loom and ran to the front of the car, except for this. This is new. This is the wiring harness that runs up to the steering wheel here for all of the radio and phone functions. For now, I have the horn wired up. I'm using the paddle shifters here on the steering wheel for horn because I don't have a center, and I'm not sure I'll ever use the center for the horn. I may continue to keep it for the paddle shifters, or I may use something else in the future, but for now the horn is working, and we'll determine in the future if I'm going to keep it there, which I kind of like, or move it somewhere else. Eventually these wires here will connect to the radio functions once I buy the radio, and then you can program them. The radio is like a self-learning radio, so you tell the radio when you're pushing a button, and then once it receives a signal you can assign what function on the radio you want that signal to be. So it's kind of easy to program and learn, or at least it's supposed to be, and I'll eventually run these wires over to the radio area. I just haven't got around to that yet. Up here on the front of the car, this is where the 2 power wires from the rear attach to. I've got 2 separate small fuse boxes. One of these fuse boxes will turn on with the accessories when you turn the key on, or one notch, or press the button one time. It's a push button start. It'll turn accessories on and power up that fuse box. And that fuse box will run to things like power windows, power locks, door latches, and things like that. It only operate when the accessories key is on. And the other box will always have power running to it, and it'll power things like the horn, the entry lights inside the car. When you open the door to get in the car, the lights will come on. All of those things have constant power running to them, so they will work before you actually try to push the button to start the car. So one box will be continuously hot, and the other box will power on with accessories. And I've started wiring some of the wires on the boxes. Actually, the horn is one of the relays that runs through one circuit, and the other circuit is to power up the reading here for the brake reservoir fluid. So both of those are functioning. I have some more wiring to do on those, but they're coming along nicely. I've also been in contact with a couple of people discussing getting my air conditioner working, because from the factory it is heavily computer controlled. This is the control module for it. All the connectors for the AC box or HVAC box plug into that. It's basically a computer. And you can see there are a lot of wires coming out that go to different things, different sensors, temperature probes, pressure line on the AC lines. A couple of those will run to the compressor to trigger the compressor output higher and lower. And I spoke to a local guy. He is in Mooresville, I believe, who says he thinks he can do this. He's supposed to get back to me in a day or two with an answer if he's going to attempt it or not. But he has done things like this in the past, and he thinks he can. So hopefully that'll work out, and we can get him working on this air conditioning soon. Not like I'm really in a hurry for it yet, but as long as I'm on wiring, I would like to continue on the wiring. I still have some things to wire here in the center. I've started pulling my wires around and running down this center area. These will run to the switches here in the center console or up here depending on where I put them, but the push button start will control some of these wires, and one of them will run to the hazard light switch, turn the hazard lights on and off. Also, one of them is a trunk release, and I'm not quite sure where that wire will need to run yet. There'll be one trunk release button, or hatch, trunk, whichever you want to call it, on the panel somewhere on the dash, and the other one will probably have to run to the remote start, so the key fob will open the hatch. There should be a button on the hatch you press to pop the hatch, pop the trunk on the key fob. And other than that, one thing I accomplished last week that took me several days was I put the seat belts in the car. I don't know if you noticed them, but both seat belts are in, and I put the reel here, and the other end of the seatbelt latches is right here with the reel, but they run up, they attach here to the roll bar. Right now there's just a hole drilled through the roll bar with a bolt through it. Eventually I'll enlarge that hole and weld a tube in, so I'm crushing against a tube and make that connection stronger. But the seatbelt runs through the hole here for the shoulder harness. Let's see if I can get over here, and over here to the latch part, which bolts down to the floorboard on the cross members where the seats are bolted to, which is a really strong area. And then back over here on the end, this is bolted through this large aluminum tube here. Right now it just has a nut on it. The bolt that's in there is not long enough, so it's only a couple of threads on there. But that'll eventually get bolted on there, more secure, and it will be hidden and covered up by the carbon fiber door seals here. I believe that brings you guys up to speed. That's everything that I've accomplished in the last 2 weeks. Everything that I've done electrical has been a lot of work because the car was so reliant on computers and CAN bus and LIN bus and different things originally, and bypassing that has been extremely difficult. Even for the horn itself used the sensors or the controls from the steering wheel, and all of those controls are basically different value resistors, and the computer is reading what value resistor it senses to know what signal to send out. So for me to get the signal to work for the horn, instead of using those resistors, I had to take the steering wheel apart and solder jumper wires across the resistors to be able to use that signal as just a ground signal. But after a couple of days, I figured out a game plan, put it together, and made it work, and the horn is functioning finally. But the wiring is going to be slow going forwards. It'll probably take me a couple more weeks. The next thing I'm probably going to do, at least that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do next, is pull this engine and transaxle and go ahead and get this brake actuator for the rear brakes installed and wired and functioning. Also, next week I have a big surprise for you. I thought about giving you some clues to what it is, but I think I'm just going to keep silent. It'll be a little different than something that we've done in the past, and hope you guys enjoy it, but just be prepared for a little bit of a surprise next week. And I guess that's going to conclude this video, and I'll see you guys again in 1 week.